Fastest woman in America disqualified from the 100-meter race at the Olympic Games after testing positive for marijuana. Sha'Carri Richardson stole headlines weeks ago when she won the race at the Olympic trials in Oregon. Well, she's now facing a 1-month suspension and lost her spot in Tokyo. The track star has taken full responsibility and did promise that it would never happen again. She said she knew she wasn't supposed to do it and explained that her biological mother died just days before that big race and that she had used marijuana to cope. In an exclusive interview with the Today Show this morning, she described how she was feeling before the race.
Blinded by emotions, blinded by sadness, blinded by just hurting, hiding hurt. Sitting here, I just say, don't judge me because I am human. I'm you. I just happen to run a little faster.
Richardson dominated the 100 meters in June, crossing the finish line in less than 11 seconds. Then she drew even more attention when she immediately ran into the stands to hug her grandmother, which we see here, who she said is her superwoman. We should say that recreational marijuana is legal in 19 states, including Oregon, where she tested positive, but it is still illegal federally and banned by the World Anti-Doping Agency. Richardson, though, still does have a chance at making the U.S. relay team. That's because that event actually happens after her month-long suspension is over. But she says right now she's just focusing on what she needs to do to cope. It was a really interesting interview. Let's bring in now Chris Chavez. He covers track and field and the Olympics for Sports Illustrated. Chris, thanks for being with us today. How big of an impact on the sport of track and field is the suspension?
No, this is huge because we're coming off the Olympic trials. It was a super exciting time. The team is set for Tokyo. We're seeing world records falling left and right. And the Tokyo Olympics are supposed to be the biggest show for this sport every 4 years. And then all of a sudden, the United States loses its biggest star and one of the biggest hopes for a gold medal in an event that they haven't won since 1996.
Yeah. And a lot of people are comparing this, or at least thinking back to Michael Phelps. Critics say that the punishment is overblown. They argue that marijuana isn't performance enhancing. We saw Gabrielle Union post a tweet sort of suggesting the same. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so a lot of people are very quick to throw out the Michael Phelps comparison. And the thing with that is that Phelps actually did serve a 3-month suspension. It just so happened that there weren't any major competitions going on at the same exact time. And from what I'm seeing all over Twitter, Sha'Carri Richardson is getting a ton of support from people, a lot of public outcry for rules to be changed or to be revised. And it's interesting because she's very young, and this was her owning up to her own mistakes. She knew that it was against the rules, but it was a coping mechanism that she had to deal with something really, really hard in her life, and ultimately pays a big price for.
Yeah, I'm wondering, as we said, recreational marijuana is legal in, I believe I said, 19 states. What would the process even look like to begin to change for the Olympics, their stance? Are they out of touch with culture and perhaps society?
Yeah, so the Olympics abides by the World Anti-Doping Agency's code, which comes out with a list of banned substances every single year. And marijuana has been on the list for the past couple of years because they think that athletes, have an increased risk-taking, slower reaction times, poor, function or decision-making, and it puts them at risk but it's not necessarily a performance-enhancing drug. They have it kind of in a lower category as like a substance of abuse. And so they review it every year. The reason that the United States Anti-Doping Agency abides by the World Anti-Doping Agency's code is because that's how Olympic sports work. If you look at other sports like the NBA, Major League Baseball, or the NFL, they've all got different policies when it comes to marijuana. Major League Baseball did away with banning the substance, from removing it from the banned list in 2019. Last year during the NBA bubble, there were no more random tests for athletes for marijuana. The NFL has changed their penalties as well. So it is sort of a way it's finally, I guess, time for the World Anti-Doping Agency to take a closer look at a rule like this. It just so comes as a result of a big United States star falling victim to this. That's why I feel like the public outcry is so much louder. Had this been a Jamaican athlete, yes, it would have been big. But I think it's because it's an American athlete, it's a much bigger deal.
Yeah, and the circumstances, certainly, if you listen to that Today Show interview, the circumstances around which she admitted taking it, her mother passing away, her being in Oregon, it's just, a sad story. All right, Chris, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.